Hi, Carol here. A happy Mother's Day to those I missed on Mother's Day. Thank you for your prayers as I have been extremely sick for the last 2 weeks. So God bless you all for your wonderful, wonderful prayers and emails. And happy Nana's Day. This is from my granddaughter, Caitlin. And I have to just share this. Thanks to my husband. This was so cute. As you know, last week was my birthday. Found this downstairs on the island. Happy birthday card. I made it myself, and it had the balloons, the cake, the ice cream, and the hot dog with ketchup. And when I called to thank my husband for this, because I have been sick and in bed, he said, "This is not just any card. I went to my Stampin' Up, extreme Stampin' Up equipment to make this for you." And I just laughed and laughed. Isn't that cute? I want to show you a few cards I was able to get in the video. This one is from Tina. Hi Tina, what a gorgeous card. That you'll recognize this card. I received one for my birthday before last year. Tina has been following my channel and is a good friend. And she also put this beautiful stick pin on here. It's kind of like a monochromatic card, but with that cream white included, and I love the purple. I don't know what you made those leaves with, but they feel like silk, like they like velvet almost. They're beautiful, and the die cut leaves, gorgeous in the dark purple. And I don't know if that's coordination paper that you sanded off. I'm not quite sure there, Tina, but it's gorgeous. And then you have that portion on the back so I can stand it up. The little letter that you sent me here, well wishes for my birthday, and it slides in the back pocket. Oh, it's just gorgeous. So thank you very much. I'll treasure that along with the other card. And this says handmade with love. You put one of those on my other card too. I do recognize and remember all the details, the little details. Isn't that beautiful? So thank you very much, and thank you for your note as well. I haven't been up for over 2 weeks, and there's Tina's address if you want to stop the video. And I haven't been crafting at all. I have been totally bedridden, so this was very nice to get these for my birthday. And thank you, Christy. This is so crazy cute, and the lovely message inside. I do appreciate it. Love the colors, like the green going into the turquoise with the candles. Put about 10 times those candles. We would have had that down, right, Christy? So thank you so much. And these are the micro brushes that everybody talks about and asks me where I got them. Well, I found them on this site called Wish for $1 a pack of 100, and I'll leave the link in the description box. I just added the card in the envelope alley. I just got this in the mail last night, and I wanted to get it on this video here today. Thank you so much. Isn't this gorgeous? An envelope with a matching card. Extremely beautiful, Allie. Thank you for all the cards that I received, and thank you for going out of your way for me and sending me that. I appreciate it. So I will send you an email, and each of you, and let's begin our envelope we're going to make. Now, I know this is a pretty long video, but I have 2 weeks to make up for, right? I was kind of excited to get back in the craft room, as you can imagine, so that's why the tutorial is super long. Anyway, this is from a company called Ink Me This. It's a measuring guide for when you want to address your envelopes. And then if you want to do calligraphy or brush lettering, you can use different increments, because around the perimeter there's measurements. So I just took my T-square ruler, and I was going to just do calligraphy. And that's why the squares are so small. But then, you know me, midstream, I changed my mind and decided to do 3 different fonts and address it to my friend Debbie Tester. She let me use her address on here, and I was really thankful. Thank you, Deb. And I just wanted to show you how you can make an envelope from an envelope. This really, it was going to be 2 cards. Then I changed my mind, and I grabbed my HB pencil, a white click eraser, I really like those, a my T-square as we just saw, and we're going to use a lot of supplies and different techniques and elements. I want to show you how you can take an envelope and change it up completely and make it like a card in a sense. I'm going to do the front and the back of the envelope, of course, but I'm going to show you how to really jazz it up, and I'm going to show you a lot of supplies that I thought would be helpful if you wanted to do an envelope in a different sort of way. I had this little booklet and I liked the font on there, so I was going to mimic that font and change my mind. That's what I do, and I'm just kind of, I wanted to have a different style of printing, so I'm just erasing the lines as I go. So if I do a letter and I'm satisfied with it, right beside there I will erase the line, because we are going to use gold, 14 karat gold paper, like leaf, gold leaf. There it is, popped out gold leaf. I tell you what, 3 days I have been working on this throughout the day, and I am so excited to get this tutorial up. I really do miss my channel, and I miss it when I'm sick and I can't get a project up, so I hope you bear with me here. It really is actually 2 cards made into an envelope. How's that? And a little bit of script thrown in here and there, but this isn't necessarily all wrapped around the script that I use. It's just showing you this little Ink Me This template and how you can use it in different ways. I ended up taking the top portion right out. I erased it all, and I just put the square because I knew I was going to do a little bit of a loose handwriting. And after I get that ready to apply the gold leaf, and I decided to go get the little box that it came in. It's made by Speedball. It's called Simple Leaf. I got it at Michael's. It's only $11.95, and if you use your coupon, I mean, it's crazy. You get 18 sheets, and it's 5.5 by 5.5 in that's how much of the gold leaf that you get. And it is, let's see, it says 86% copper, 14 zinc, and imitation 23 karat gold leaf. I mean, imitation 23 karat gold. You can't get any better than that, right? I don't know where I got 14 karat gold from. That's why I thought, Carol, you better go read this, because for $11.95, I don't think you're getting 14 karat gold. Isn't that funny? So you're getting 23 karat gold. You're getting more, but it's imitation. And did I mention it is 18 sheets of 5.5 by 5.5 gold leaf? That's amazing for $11.95. I think you're going to love doing all kinds of projects with this gold leaf. There was a time where it was a little bit intimidating to use it because it's so fine. But when you see how easy it is to do it over top of your writing, and as well as I used it on some of the stamp that I used a 1999 set from Stampin' Up, and it's called, I think it's called Pottery Herbs. I'll check that out for you, but yeah, from 1999, isn't that crazy? But like I said, I want to shop in my stash, and I want to use up some of my Stampin' Up sets because they are beautiful. They're a bunch of potted plants, and I actually got out my Stamp-A-Majig. I mean, this is crazy. I am using products from way back when. Yeah, like about 4 years ago. Once I'm finished with the zip code here, I think that's what you call that, a zip code. We call ours a postal code. But anywho, yeah, so now what I'll do is I'll go back and check my letters and make sure they're exactly the way I want them. And I sped this up because I want to get on to the actual gold leaf. So you want to take out as much of the lines that we put in there, and with the white eraser, love this click eraser. And even my pencil has a nice white eraser, thin one on it, so that was good. And what do we do next? You just need to take your glue pen, any glue pen, and go over all of your letters, making sure you see the blue liquid come out, right? And then you have to wait until it dries, and that's when you begin to foil. It's like foiling, it's the leaf, the gold leaf. So you're going to apply your pen. I mean, how easy is this? You're just going to go over your own text and wait for that blue to turn clear, and then we're going to start with the gold foil. And you're going to be amazed how nice it does look. And you know what? You can see that blue liquid coming out, so you're not going to miss any areas. And that's why I did the text just a little thicker so it would stand out. Now, once you get all of your letters filled with the glue, you're going to wait till it dries, like I said before, and then you're going to place your 24 karat imitation gold, 5.5 by 5.5. I mean, $11.95. I can't get over it. If you used your 40% coupon on that, you're getting 18 sheets, and it's so delicate. It just looks beautiful when you get finished here. So let's switch up. Let's take them out. They're packaged wonderfully. Look at that. Each one has a protectant cover, which is nice. You're not dealing with having to, hang on to it and it's cracking and breaking. They have done the work for you. And it's Speedball Mona Lisa imitation gold. And yeah, Simple Leaf it's called, Simple Leaf. And I'm pressing quite hard with my blush brush. I got that at the dollar store where nothing's a dollar. And it's perfect for this because you get the pressure that you need, but yet you get the softness that you have to have as well, because this gold leaf is very delicate. I'm just going to go over the few spots, and there were just a few. And then you can take your pokey tool and poke out all of the areas that maybe got touched by the glue. So these envelopes are nice thick envelopes. Actually, they're the ones I got at the stationery store from a wedding set that somebody didn't pick up. But I want to, for the technique I'm going to do on this envelope, I needed to have watercolor paper, and I needed to have a good layer of it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the back off. I'm leaving 1/4 of an inch all the way around, probably slightly smaller than 1/4 of an inch. You're going to leave the flap on for now because we are going to use our oxide inks. And this is where the fun begins. I had this watercolor paper left over, so I put a piece of acetate on the back of it, and I'm going to use it as a palette. Then I took my Heartfelt Creation Border Dies, and I cut out 2 different dies, but 3 of each, and I'm going to use that one on the top, and we're going to use gold embossing powder actually, but I want to set that aside because this is going to be a part of our envelope, believe it or not. I'm going to set this stuff aside. I'm going to get out my piece there on top. First, my PH Martin watercolors. I'm going to use those. I'm going to use the 1999 Potted Herbs Stampin' Up set and these 2 razors from this cutting knife. Now I want to show you what I did. I'm using this piece as a palette, so it has a piece of acetate behind those 2 circles, and in order to get this cutting knife, I took the blades, I took out a large old cutting knife that I had, and this Stampin' Up, I got that when I first started with Stampin' Up years ago in my first set. I think it was a Stampin' Up set. But anyway, that looks like a credit cardy thing. So you want to cut this behind something because you don't want it to fly up on you because it's very, very sharp. Put that back together so that I could put the guts back in. And I took some duct tape, and you want to be very careful here. I took my pliers and I put 2 layers so that I had something to hang on to, and then I'm going to put them aside. And I love that Stampin' Up! Little thing there, that scraper. I got it years ago, and I found it in my stash. And then you're going to take some watercolor paper. Now the Strathmore comes in the 300 and the 400 series, and I wanted to show you that I take little clips and put it at the bottom of my watercolor, so when I have any stray pieces of watercolor paper, I just clip it to the bottom. It doesn't get in the way, and you can find your pieces parts every time you grab one of your watercolor pads. Now we're going to carry on with our envelope. Okay, let's recap here. We're going to cut and miter all the corners nicely. We're going to need a piece of 140 pound or whatever poundage of cardstock you have to put behind the address just to give it some stability. And you're going to take your flap and trace out some watercolor paper. And I used the 140 pound Strathmore. And once I traced it out, I am going to cut it off and make it, so it's reasonably the same, because we are going to take the flap off of the original envelope. This is the Strathmore watercolor paper that I used. Then I took a piece for the inside behind the lettering to make it have some stability as well. So you're going to cut that out. I think it's was 5 by 5 this card. Envelope, or 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm not sure, but I'll measure that for you. And then I'm going to score it here at 1/4 of an inch so that I have a fold, but I am going to make a gusset. I'm going to bring it over one more notch so that it has a little bit more of a fold on it, thicker. It's going to make it thicker. And now I'm going to take that 140 pound cardstock that I have and cut out a piece, as you can see right here, that is the exact size of the envelope inside the flap that we cut off, if that makes any sense whatsoever. You're just going to need some stability behind the envelope where you put the address. I'm going to put double-sided tape runner, the 1-inch tape, behind that piece later on. That's going to go behind Debbie's address. So first of all, I'll take my stamp set I'm going to use. Love these potted plants, and I'm going to put it on my Stamp-A-Majig, because I'm not used to using block stamps anymore, because we always seem to be using the photopolymer, so I thought it's safe just to put it on my Stamp-A-Majig. So I'll set it down there so I can see, and I will get perfect placement along the bottom. And I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I am going to use the oxide ink. So I'm going to set that there and put my my Stamp-A-Majig thingy. I'm going to put it there, and we're going to start placement. So take your Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and you just want an archival ink to use on the bottom. And I stamped it off because I don't want it dark black. So I did one stamp and then I put it on, and I'll do that again and move it over. These potted plants, like the herbs, were beautiful to paint with the P.H. Martin watercolors. I can't even tell you. But I didn't want to have a strong black image on there. So if you do this, just stamp off and then run it along the bottom, and then we're going to do a scene. And actually, this was so much fun because it was like making 2 cards in one. Only it's an envelope, see? Now, I took the turquoise oxide ink and I went around the top portion like I was doing a sky with some clouds. Now, I did put a couple of stamped horseflies on there, 3 of them, but you don't see them in the end. And then I put that little sign that says not enough time, THYME, as in the spice, up in the right hand corner there. So cute. And you will see when we get going, we're going to use the Copic multiliner to bring that out. But right now I want to concentrate on making nice poofy clouds. So I took the darker blue and I'm going to put like a rough edge on almost like a wave, and you want to put the two tones of blue like the sky, and kind of imagine where you want your clouds to be. I wanted them above the name, so I took my color box white, and this is another makeup brush, really nice foam brush, it's wonderful, and I am making the white curves in the clouds the way I want them to look, because I don't want them to go over top of Debbie's name, right? So I'm just doing the imagining what kind of clouds I wanted to have, and I wanted them to be straight across. I didn't want them to be separated like, you know, three different clouds. I had it run like a cloud going straight across, and I really liked the look, and I'll show you how I do that. You want to use the blue underneath, so if you make the wave type on the bottom of the waves, you want to have that dark jean blue, faded jeans I think it is, and that will give you it'll set the clouds back in. The more blue you put on the edges, and then the more white you put on the top, will really make them poofy looking. I wanted to make sure that it was above Debbie's name, and I wanted them to look individual in a sense. I didn't want like one full cloud going across. So the puffier I wanted the cloud to look, I took my makeup brush and I pounced it over the top of the blue that I had put in. And it's almost like having the alphabet M going across there in blue. And then, as you know, the more distant I wanted the cloud, the more of the white I would put on the top, and the blue I would just tip the applicator so that I had a little bit of a line. And I wanted that faded jeans sky look, like that darker blue look, along with the turquoise. Now I have the soft makeup brush that I bought like in a cheap pack at the dollar store, and I am just kind of rubbing it along, a little bit of a pounce, and keeping, of course, the name visible. So now I went to a stipple brush. It is an actual stipple brush. It's harder, the bristles are harder, and I wanted to have less of I didn't want it so smooth looking. I wanted it to have some 3D dimension, and in order to get that in my cloud, I needed to pounce that white with the stipple brush, so I was getting just little touches in certain areas. So I'm going to set the color box white aside, and I'm going to move to I'm going to use my Copic white liquid and my Adirondack Snow Cap white, and that's an acrylic paint. I'm going to set it off to the side, and I'm really going to whiten up now the tips of the clouds right on the top portions. This way I'm getting some 3 dimension, and I'm getting 3 different types of white, because clouds aren't pure white. You have that different blue hue, you have gray, you have all kinds of different shades in there. So I'm going to just show it to you up close, and don't forget we had that little not enough time sign on the upper right. Now I'm going to set the cloud aside, because I decided you can't see Debbie Tester and it's not as clear. So I took out some of my liquid pen inks, like they're a liquid gold, but I didn't like them. I was afraid that too much would blob out. So at one time, and the pens were just the wrong color gold. So I took this liquid gold from the same company there, the Speedball liquid gold. I'm just practicing. I took a calligraphy pen, like a pointed nib, and I'm just practicing to see how much of this liquid will come out of my pen at one time. You want to do this because each pen nib will let out a different amount of ink with whatever pressure you're going to put down. And that's what I'm testing here on the calligraphy nib. How much will I get out with as much pressure as I'm going to put down? on top of the already gold we have. And I'm telling you, it gave you, as you can see, that ghosting effect. It was raised up. Oh my, it was beautiful. And you don't want to put too much pressure at first, but you've got that gold behind it. And I'm just taking a little pin here because I had to stir my Adirondack and my Copic white together here. And I'm going back to the clouds. I thought, okay, I need to see how poofy I'm going to make these clouds before I finish up her name. I did the D and the E, and now I'm going to finish the clouds up. So that's the Adirondack acrylic white, and this is the stippling brush. I will go back in there with some of the blue. I'm just adding more white to, different colored white. Here I'm going in with my makeup brush with the blue, and I'm going to add the undertones underneath the cloud so that it brings it out. So here you have, it's the foam brush and the stipple brush working together, and it really does work well. You will see that once I get, I crunched the blue faded jeans down on my mat, and I will now add them to the bottom of the clouds so that it will give me more dimension. Let it dry, and then I will come back to it so that you can't see those lines as distinct. So what you have to do is you just have to be patient with your little clouds there and go back and see, how you want them to look. And then while you're doing the liquid gold on your letters, it will have time to dry. So once I'm satisfied with the white, with the Adirondack acrylic white here, it's called Snowcap. Once I'm satisfied with that on the top, I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to go back and we're going to put the gold over top of our gold leaf. And I love the two different golds together because the gold leaf in the paper is kind of a flat gold, where this liquid gold has this beautiful look to it. It's just gorgeous, and I had so much fun. The one thing that you have to prepare yourself for when you're making a scene is time. I knew I was going to spend a lot of time on this because I was going to put the potted plants on the bottom. I wanted it to have a look of the herbs in the potted plants, kind of like an earth style of hues, earth tones. And then when you turn the card over, I wanted to have birch trees. While I was recovering, I was watching quite a few videos, and there was another girl named Deb, and her tutorial, she inspired me to do birch trees on the back of this. I have quite a few videos of birch trees. I love to draw them, and I love to use this style that we'll be using later on with a razor or a credit card or anything that is has a nice sharp edge to it. If you watch my videos, you know I trail off. I go from this to that, from this to that, while things are drying or while I'm trying to make up my mind what I'm going to do next. And what I should have done right there is covered that liquid. Can you imagine if that had tipped over? Oh yeah, there you go. I saw that. And so here I'm going to trace out the outside of the envelope on my 140-pound white cardstock. I'm finding that it's just too flimsy. Even though this is a good cardstock envelope, I need it to be nice and thick. So I will have the 140-pound Strathmore on the back. I'll have this 140-pound regular cardstock that I buy at the stationery store on the inside. The flap that's going over will be watercolor. That's what I'm trying to say here. I didn't need watercolor for the inside of the envelope. I just needed it for the back and the flap. So here I just decided to use my thick cardstock. I put my double-sided tape on the back to make sure it doesn't buckle, and then that will be ready to go on the inside. Isn't that nice? It's nice and clean, even though you're not going to see it because this is an envelope, right? I am going to put a note in it. And so I want it to be real stable. A lot of stability on the inside here for going through the mail, right? So here we go. I'll grab my double-sided tape. I noticed I needed to trim a tad off the one end, and I really like that Tim Holtz cutter, by the way. That I'm getting accustomed to it now. I'm getting used to it. So here I'll grab my 1-inch double-sided tape, put it down, and we are going to get ready to carry on. I think I'm going to finish up the outside here before I go to the other side of the card. And I like using double-sided tape. I really could have used my ATG as well, but I find that if you use this and then I took that Stampin' Up tool there, it's almost like it's like a rubber credit card. I remember getting that when I first joined Stampin' Up. That was when I began my journey. It was in the the $99 kit. Isn't that funny? And I think if I remember right, there was birds that you put on your wall, and that's the tool you use to scrape. It's the scraper they gave you, and I've had that all this time. Wow. That's amazing what we keep. There it is. This is what that's good for. I'm so glad I found it in my stash. So here we go. I'm all ready to move forward and finish this envelope. So I took my Copic multiliner. It's a 0.03, and I'm going over this little sign that says not enough time. And yes, it is a 0.03. And I'm going to trace it out, and I'm going to write not enough time, T-H-Y-M-E. And it has these little looks like little nails in there, and then it has a little bow, and we're going to put some of that multiliner. I can't believe I have that open again as I'm doing this project. Can you believe it? All I need to do, if that tipped over, oh my, yes, that wouldn't be good. So really, I should have put it in something in case it did, like a jar or something. Yikes. But anywho, I kept going. So here we go, where I must have fast forward. So I have Debbie Tester done, and now I'm moving on to the address, Liberty Oak Lane. And I love the ghosting effect this gives you. And once, what's really nice, once you get used to the pressure of your calligraphy nib on how much ink your nib will hold, it's a breeze to finish up. And isn't it pretty? Gold on gold. Wow, that is nice. And I'm happy with the clouds. I don't even know if I go back, but see how you needed to have the flap still there so that you you weren't going onto your mat with the oxide inks. And yeah, so here we go. We're just going to finish Lane, and then we'll move on to South Carolina. I'm not sure here because I'm not watching how far ahead I am on this, but I'm thinking it's looking pretty good. Okay, here's where I made my homemade palette. I have the one palette set to the right, and then I needed more colors, so I just put some acetate on the back of this watercolor paper that I die cut these circles out of, and it made me two little palettes for my watercolors. Okay, I took a detailed brush, actually 3 of them. I have a long detail brush, and I have a medium, and I have a short on there. So, oh yeah, sweet herbs. It's not potted herbs, it's sweet herbs. And then I'm mixing my own colors to the right, and I wanted each one of these pots to be a different earth tone. So this was so relaxing, and I like to work with a detail brush that is longer. not so much a short one, because the shorter your detail brush, it doesn't give you the flexibility to move around, and especially on small images like these herbs, the longer the bristle, the easier it is to just go across there and almost like wisp. I'm trying to get really close up to show you. Almost wisp your color in there. And the PH Martins are gorgeous watercolors. So here, if I'm holding the brush straight up, it's because I want more detail. If I hold it on the side, as you know, you get a little bit more paint out. So here, I'm just making sure that I have color behind, different hues of earth tones behind the potted plants. And I take my Copic multi-liner, I think it's a 05, and I do the seeds, you know, because it has marjoram and it has thyme and dill and all different herbs on there. And I'm making, the sunlight is coming from the upper right down towards the left, so everything on the right side will be lighter than the left. And I'm going behind there and trying to put as many greens and yellow, orange, a little bit of reds in the plants. And I wanted the earth tones to be brown and greens. You know, get that mossy color and all those earth tones. It is so pretty. I have never used this stamp set, and I've had it all that time, and it is a $19.99 set. Isn't that something? So it is, you know, what, 18 years old? Wow, that's crazy. So here it has a little bit of herbs. Right there in the middle, it has a little, it looks like dill, and it's tied up with a little bow. And I do that bow in gold. And there's one to the right as well on the ground that I do in gold. And I'm trying to see how many different colors I can get on those pots. And yeah, because generally it's the color on there is more towards the reds and the coppers. So that was really fun, a lot of fun to, really fun, isn't that something? That was a lot of fun to experiment with color here. I'm just pulling out so you can see how I'm mixing it up on this homemade palette. I have the big palette going over there with all different color mixes, and then the smaller one. And I think it's coming together quite nicely. And you can see on the back, I tried to intermingle the grasses and the sky together in thirds. So the sky is coming down 2/3 and the ground is coming up approximately 1/3. It doesn't matter about those folded edges. I'm just trying to get in between all of the pots, and I'm going to put away and shake up my gold to finish off South Carolina and the zip code. So I'm used to the way it comes out of the nib now, the calligraphy nib, so it will go much faster. And then we're going to carry on with the back. I think you're really going to like the birch trees. I was so thankful I found Debbie's tutorial, because we get inspired by all kinds of people on YouTube, don't we? And as soon as I saw her doing birch trees, I knew that's what I was going to do for the back of my envelope. Here's where I take and finish the South Carolina. See, it goes much quicker. I did speed it up though. But I love the ghosting effect of the two different golds. Then I go back in, and there's little wee plants on there that I just make little dots with the gold around the seeds of some of the herbs. And I do the little bows down there and the bow up there holding my sign up. And look at that. I can't wait to send this off to Debbie. And you know, at the end we do have a covering. I'm going to show you what I use. I know you know what I use already, right? But I will show you how we will keep this in the mail, that nothing will harm it. And there we go. There's a close-up of all the gold colors in there, and there you have it, my friends. We're going to move on to the back. You're going to love it. It's so easy peasy to make birch trees. It's one of my favorite things to do. Now the first thing I did was take a filbert brush, and you want to put a wet wash. So I put a wet, before I added any color, you want to wet the back of your watercolor. So I wet the inside and the outside of the flap here, and I took more of a sky blue for the left side, and then a deep hue of a blue and green mixed together for the middle, and then green, yellow, and a little bit of orange on the right. And you can see how much water's on there. I can move it around freely. And you want the left side a lighter blue, and you want the middle a deep, deep turquoise blue, sky blue. And then you want the end some hues of green. And here's where we start scraping with our razor. There you go. Look at that. One birch tree. Oh yeah. Just have a little paper towel, and I'm just letting it sop some of the water at the bottom. And there you have one birch tree, my friends. Bend your razor over and make it thicker at the bottom a little bit. Second birch tree. Isn't this amazing? Then I'm going to tilt it in, because birch trees are not all straight up and down like soldiers. You want to add some bends, and you want to make them fatter at the bottom. And this is how easy it is, my friends. Do a wet wash first, then apply your colors you want on top. Take your razor or your credit card or whatever you have to scrape with. I love this razor with doing this, because you can add tiny, tiny birch limbs, and you can also scrape away quite a bit to see the white underneath. That's why you need to have quite a thick watercolor paper. And here we go. We're just going to push away some over there, and isn't that beautiful already? It really is this simple. I just know you'll be encouraged to do a card using this technique with the razor here, and just be very careful and put some duct tape on it. Now, as you prepare your birch trees, make sure you leave some space for your limbs, and you want to have some depth to your trees as well. So make the ones that are in the forefront a little bit larger, and the ones that are in the back a little more narrow. And bend some of them, and see right there, I put a stump only halfway up. And then don't forget, we're going to apply color. We're going to apply the white, acrylic paint. We're going to apply black, golden, heavy body, and watercolor paint, acrylic paint, excuse me. And now there's the lid. You can see the colors we started out with. So you want to just set that aside, because we're going to do another technique with the flap. So here I'm getting out the Adirondack Snowcap White, putting it on the side, and we're just going to add a little bit of water there. I used the filbert brush, and then I carefully scraped some of the white off. And then you're going to just tap it in straight up and down, maybe a tiny slant, to put your white onto your birch trees. You're going to scrape it, but you don't want the white in a straight line, so tap it off. I'll show you here in a little bit. So maybe I'll have to slow that down just a bit so you can see that. Now we're applying the white, but we are going to put some brown hues, some black, and then we're going to go over it again with the white. So here I'm going to scrape some of the black, and then you're going to realize the pressure on the razor is, you can use it to your advantage. Like, put some of the paint on the back and just use the back. Make it more liquid, and then you won't get so much on your trees. Here I wanted to make sure that it was thick in some areas, like birch bark is, and knowing that I can take it off at any time if I find it, too black. And then when you add white, you get that gray hue, so that is wonderful as well. I did take some white and flick it with my paintbrush, my detail brush, to get those dots in the background there. So I did want that. And now I'm going to add quite a bit of this Mars Black, and I'm going to run it through. Sometimes I tap the razor, but sometimes I just run it down, and that way I am getting the texture of the bark. And I'm adding a little bit more white and taking my time to see that it does look realistic, leaving some spaces in the tree, because that way you get to see the blue and green hues that you put down with your P.H. Martin paints. And you want to have some of those knots in the tree as well. You can see that I added some of those. Right by that bended one, you can see a white knot in there. And then where I want to apply more gray, I'll just run it through the white and the black at the same time. Now comes the long detail brush. This is a beautiful detail brush. And you're going to add all of the little twigs onto your birch tree. And you want to make your paint, I would say, medium texture. Add water where you need it. You don't want the twigs to be too thick, but you do want that black to show up. You want to have some going to the right, some to the left. Curve them out, add little branches to the branches, and I think it just adds some character. You can add some little knots in the birch bark, and you can actually paint up and down with the detail brush. Here I'm getting out some multi-liner, some white multi-liner, the Copic multi-liner, and I want to make the bark have that jaggedy edges. So I use that detail brush to my advantage doing that, and look at there, isn't it gorgeous? And in the middle with that blue, I did add some black and what did I put with that? Black and purple hues, because you can see it has kind of like a gray hue as in the middle, going way back to give it some depth. And now I'm just going over just to see what else I need. I've already put brown on the trees. I'm going to put snow because I do have those white flecks and it does look like snow. So I'm going to add the white wisps over top of the black, just on some of the branches there. And now I'm going back in. This is brown and purple mixed together of the P.H. Martin, and I'm going over the trees with that just to deepen it up a little bit, and then finally I will go in with just the pure white on the razor. I'm picking up some of the white to show you that you can use the credit card, motel card, or this Stampin' Up scraper, and it looks just as nice. I like the razor because you can remove so much more because it's, you know, really sharp, but either or works. So now I'm going to just do the shadows with underneath the branches. I'm going to add the black and purple together and add some shadows to the left. And then we're going to come in with the white. And I'm going to, that way I have brown tones, I have black, purple hues, I even have a little bit of red in there. Now I'm coming up with my tiny detail. This is a really small detail paintbrush, and I'm going to add some bark with that. I'm going to go round and round some little knots to make them uneven, and we're going to be just about finished, my friends. I'm going along the bottom so they're grounded. I want to make sure that I told you that they're not floating. Here's where I'm taking the Snowcap Adirondack white, and I'm going over my birch trees so that you can just see the hint of the dark, and you have quite a bit of the white because I want it to be more of a winter scene on the back and a summer scene with the herbs on the front. So there you have it. I hope you will give this a try. I really love birch trees. They're very, very easy to do. And there you have the front, and there you have the back. But we need to take care of the flap, right? One more thing, hold on. Yes, and that's why we cut out the Heartfelt Creation Border Die. 3 of them. And we're going to actually take that die and cut it out of the original flap. And I'm going to show you. We're going to need a back on that flap. So we have 2 of these, well actually 3. So we need to put Versamark on them and add gold embossing powder right here. Just heat setting them, and this is going to be the finale of this envelope. When you're heat setting and putting the Versamark on these die cuts, make sure that you have the right side. So put it up to your whatever you're going to use on your image to make sure you have the Versamark and the embossing powder on the right side. And that's what I've done here because it is going to go on the flap. Now I'm just moving it down here, the Heartfelt Creations paper. I found some with the orange. See how the herbs, we have those earth tones. So I found this sheet of paper. It has some script in the back. It also has some blue, believe it or not, and green, and the orange, like the pottery pots here in this paper. So you want to make sure if it has script that the writing, when you raise the flap, the writing is right side up, right? So I traced around the actual flap on the card. I'm putting double-sided tape on the back to hold it secure so it doesn't have any bumps. It has a tiny piece on there. Cut it all out. I'm taking the double-sided foam, and you only need a narrow strip along the 3 sides here. That's what's going to hold the birch trees out a little bit so that I can put a note on the inside. Then I also made sure that the edges were mitered on the tape as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but that's going to help just in the look of the card. So now the Heartfelt Creation die is going to go on the flap, and I left off the bottom piece. I don't want the bottom of it cut. And I'm going to add my mono multi glue here to the back, and we're going to seat that over the cut. Now because I have 3 actual cardstock on here, it's really thick, so it didn't cut all the way through, but it did cut enough so that I could push out some areas to have a see-through. I wanted to have some holes in it, and I'll show you that in a minute. So on the front and on the back, I put glue on my Heartfelt Creation border, and I'm putting it down there, and then I popped out holes on the right and the left side of the border die so that it was even, because this is where we're going to become a little bit creative in the flap here. Now we have the flap going to go over the birch trees, right? So we have the gold embossed border on one side. That's the painted side. We are now going to put down, take off the tape and put the backing on and go over your edges. I chose to go over it with the oxide turquoise. So there you have it. That's going to be on the inside. And now I'm just poking through the holes because we're going to put Prills and we're going to put gold embossing powder on the inside. So cut your flap, leaving 1/4 of an inch sticking out, and miter all the edges of, like both edges of the card. Put double-sided tape on there because this is what's going to hold, this area will hold that original flap that we did. I went over it just to make it look nice with the turquoise. There, you're going to fold it in, make sure it's got a nice crease, take it out, and then take off the tape. And then you're going to put that on the inside because this is where we're going to put, you know, when Debbie opens it, that's what she's going to see on the inside. Then we're going to take this flap, and you're going to, remember we have the gusset, so it sticks out a bit, so we're safe that way as far as it not being tight when it folds over. So you have the holes cut out, you have the miter going across the top, you have 2 different complete pictures on each side of your envelope. take the double-sided tape off that we put on, slide it under, making sure that the right side of the fold goes over whichever image you want it to. And for me, I wanted this painted side to go over the birch trees. And the inside Heartfelt Creation paper will be on the inside. So you'll see that in just a second as I put that down. And now, you know what we're going to use? Packaging tape. I want to put Prills on the inside of these holes. So once that glue is set, here's where the fun begins. This is going to go through the mail. So I'm going to grab my Stampin' Up! Small Butterfly Punch next. And we're going to work on the flap. And I don't want it to, I want it to be waterproof. So I'll show you what I do. I pop out a little wee butterfly on the end right here. We are going to use that butterfly for the front. I tried it there, I didn't like it. But I'm going to do all the edges like I always do with the blue. And then I'm going to put some glossy accents on the butterfly. We'll use it for the other side. And you can see the holes that I punched out of the filigree of the Stampin' Up! Border on top. You'll see it better right there. Now it's the packaging tape. Grab your packaging tape and make sure it's even at the top where your gusset, that you made the gusset, cut it out and neatly go around the edges. And this is where we're going to be able to put our Prills down in there. But first we're going to put gold glitter. And it's going to be embossing glitter, so it's detailed, nice and fine. So we've got that on the other side. We've got the tape. The sticky is looking up. Then I'm going to grab some gold embossing powder and put it in there. Yeah, just pour it in there. Then get yourself a coffee filter or a piece of paper and take it out. But I grab my pick. You want to be able to see through some of it. So I grabbed my pokey tool and I scraped some of the gold embossing powder to the edges so that I would be able to see the Prills. I just want the edges to have that gold embossing powder, and be careful because you do have the packaging tape on the other side, right? Then I took a baby wipe and here come the Prills. And these will just roll right into the edges, right into the holes. You can put your hand right across there, and literally when you cut this out with the die cut, it made an indent and it works beautifully. They just go in the holes that we made. It rests on the packaging tape nicely, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to cover it up on this side with packaging tape now. So there you go. This will take to any weather elements when we go to mail it. So you're going to take that, any type of, I'm using the Stampin' Up! Tool there, the scraper, and I'm going to make sure that you could use your bone folder, anything where you can press it down and make it nice and flat on the edges. And yes, look at that. Yep, here's where I start to go in there, and it just looks like glossy accents, truly. But yet we used packaging tape. We've got the beautiful Prills on the inside, just like a shaker. The turquoise matches the birch trees on the one side. And when you fold it over, right here, I'm going to cover this side now, turn it over and cover, put the Prills inside right here, that beautiful butterfly image. It doesn't matter if it gets on the tape because we're going to cut it off, right? So you're going to put another piece of packaging tape over that and make sure you go right up to that crease line so that the transition's nice and smooth from one piece of packaging tape to the other, and then cut it off. Yeah, you noticed I put the lid on that. And yeah, cut it right to the edge. That's why it didn't matter whether you had the Prills there. Now the flap is going to be weatherproof for the mail. Isn't that wonderful? And we're able to get two elements in there. You're going to have the Prills, the embossing powder, and now we're going to take the Burt's Bees hand cream. It is called the outside almond and milk hand cream, and this will weatherproof your card. So it's actual hand cream, but it has the exact same elements in it as the Tim Holtz medium for doing this. Take a paper towel and go over it lightly. You don't have to go over it heavy. The Distress Collage medium, I'll do the front, and I'm not pressing down. I am just lightly going over it with my hand, and then I will take a soft paper towel. You don't want to use a baby wipe because you don't want to lift any of your paint. And there you have it, my friends, a light wash over it with the dry paper towel, and you have that beautiful shine as you do with the packaging tape. I take my little butterfly. Oh yeah, I'm just putting some little dots around the zip code and around the little herb flower sticking up. I signed it and dated it there, and we are finished. I'm really happy with it. I hope you are as well. I forgot to mention at the end of my tutorials, there's a little picture of me in the left-hand corner. If you would press that you would be able to subscribe to my tutorials. Thank you for your prayers as I've been recovering the last 2 weeks, and I look forward to another project pretty soon, and I hope you liked this one. There's the dot. I'm going to put that there, but I'm going to secure it with a heavy-duty glue. There's the Burt's Bees and the glazing medium to put on before you mail it. And I just thank you so very much for joining me as always. Have yourself a blessed week. And I hope you were able to get some inspiration. Take care, everybody.